It is a super tough experience getting no's across the board when it comes to your drama school auditions. And sadly, it happens to the majority of people who audition because there are far more people auditioning than there are places to give out. And even if you are fortunate enough to get in first time round, then rejection is going to be part of your career because again, the competition is so fierce because you're just competing for one role. So the odds are even more unforgiving. But regardless of how many times you have received a no, it's really important to look back and analyze where you potentially fell short so you can grow and improve from that experience so that you don't make the same mistakes again. Now you might be thinking, but I did everything right. It felt like a great audition. Couldn't have gone better. But I still got a rejection. These are the circumstances that are so incredibly frustrating. And they're the ones that sting the most. Because sometimes it feels like the stars had aligned and everything was popping off in the most positive way. And you're really surprised and confused and maybe a little bit frustrated and angry. Because even though it went really well, you still got a no. And sometimes there isn't any more rhyme or reason than they just went in a different direction. They only had a handful of spaces to give out and they decided to give those spaces to other people. And it hurts because in any other circumstance, you may have got the acceptance instead of the other person. And it's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid, and there's not much else to it. The only thing that you can do is persevere, try again the following year, and to try not to let it get to you. And rest in the knowledge that you did everything in your power to make it work. And you just didn't get lucky this time. And it's all the more reason to keep your standard high and to be open to the possibility of getting a yes in future. But for the people who felt that they did miss the mark and there is room for improvement, then it is worth taking a look at the following and learning from the experience so that you don't repeat yourself next year. Mindset wasn't strong. This sounds kind of harsh, I get it, but if your mindset isn't strong, then it doesn't really matter how talented you are. Training is tough, so you need to be tough as well. Self-belief, healthy confidence, flexibility, lack of hesitation, taking charge and ownership over the space. All of these things are markers for the panel to gauge your readiness and suitability for training. And if you let the nerves get the better of you, if you played it safe, if you were people-pleasing, if you were putting undue pressure on yourself, if you were stuck or fixed within your performance, then all of this could have been a heavy contributor to you getting a no. But good news, with knowledge and awareness comes another chance. Audition season is rolling around, so this is the perfect opportunity to fix those things, to work on your self-confidence, to work on your mindset. And I would go as far as to say that working on your mindset is probably the most effective work that you can do throughout the audition season. Emotion over intention. Maybe the way that you approached your audition material was the thing that actually got you a no. If you were solely concentrating on the display of emotion instead of exploring how the character is affecting the person that they are speaking to, then this could have been an indication to the panel of your slightly amateurish approach to acting, and therefore not suited to conservatoire level training at that point. Acting isn't about showing emotion. That approach is inherently self-serving, self-focused, and closed off to the audience and the people that you're speaking to. Instead, focusing on intention, this opens you up. You have drive, you have creativity, and you're making it about the other people in the scene instead of focusing inward, which is far more interesting to watch. Not shifting in redirection. Flexibility and being able to shift and change within your performance in accordance with a note that's given to you is where a lot of people fall short in their recall stages. So you might have been doing something really great in your self-tape, but then once they ask you to change it up, that's when things start to fall apart. Because if you can only perform your speech in one way and you are totally stuck, it doesn't inspire confidence that you have more range and that you'd be able to grow and improve over the course of training, because you simply can't take a note. And if this feels like you, if a recall stage and a redirection note is where you fell short, then I would say dedicate a lot of time to practicing your redirection skills. And I would do that instead of setting your speech in stone, almost choreographing the moves and how the words are actually going to come out of your mouth. That's going to make your whole performance formulaic, predictable, and really bloody boring. And you also run the risk of performing yourself into a rut, so when it does come to those redirections, it's going to be so much more of a struggle for you. A naive or young attitude. Now, I've said this before, a naive or young attitude is not directly correlated to age. You can get super mature 18-year-olds who are totally ready for training, and then other people who are in their mid to late 20s who have such a naive and young approach to things that they are just simply not ready. So maybe the panel just deemed you to be a little bit too green, a little bit too young to go into training at that point. So giving you a no is actually a blessing in disguise, not just to you, but to them as well. Because if you were to have been accepted onto the course when you weren't actually mentally ready, then you might have struggled far more than you would if you got accepted this year or next year. So you would have spent a lot of your training playing catch up with the remainder of your year group. And this has happened to a lot of people training in the past. And what this leads to is a huge crisis of confidence, frustration, and just being really fearful of acting. And sadly, it has caused a lot of people to just abandon it altogether. Timing is key when it comes to auditioning for drama school. You need to be ready. It's not just about your talent level. So maybe last year the panel just thought that you needed to settle, find some grounding, and go out into the world and experience it for a bit, so that you can come back this year with a more mature energy, more grounding, more self-belief, and then you're actually going to be ready to train. Maybe you had nothing to say. This is the one that gets me when I sit on audition panels. Having no experience, no outlook, no opinions, whether that is on the material that you chose to use, whether that is on the industry, the craft, or the larger world. We've got to remember that actors inhabit different people, different walks of life, different points of view. So if you have not had any experience or you don't hold opinions and views of your own, then how are you going to shift and change into someone else? Actors, in a sense, hold up a mirror to the world. So you've got to have experiences and something to say about the world around you. Now, I don't mean that you need to be activist in your views, but have something to say. Be passionate and curious about something. Because you're not auditioning for a specific role here. You're auditioning for a school, for a cohort, to be part of something for the next 3 years. And the panel want to invest in interesting human beings, just as much as they want to invest in your talent. So there we go. There were a few things to think about and work on going from last year's experience to this year's. And I hope it opened up some possibilities for you. And it opened up your eyes to get a better outcome this year. Now, if you are looking for more in-depth guidance, more support, more training, more coaching, then check out my new online platform, act.cool. All the details for signing up are in the description box below. But until next time,